Hey folks, welcome back to Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes Day by Day. It's after midnight, so it's the third. Shouldn't be the third, but it is. Why is it the third when I did every other account on the second? Mistakes were made. Oh. Oh god. I mean, people, I don't know why I said that. um, things are rough. I mean, things are okay. I mentioned on the earlier show that I saw Arnold's video, about how people are mad about that epic confrontation or epic battle or whatever. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I don't know. And then I saw the video about that sort of Meg did where she was like talking about how Disney streaming doesn't want to put any more Marvel or Star Wars stuff on Disney Plus because it runs at a loss. Because apparently streaming's dead. Streaming's not dead. What's dead is you just being able to think you can write an anything script that doesn't matter and people will watch. That's what needs to die. Making better content should be the aim of everything. Sorry, I'm just clicking and sealing on the other screen. But yeah, I mean, I talked about earlier, story matters. Story does matter. We had a Zoom conference about 5 hours ago now, where we were talking about a book that we're supposed to be reading, and along with other people. And I don't want to call it a book readathon or a book read along or whatever, but because it's not like we're a bunch of booktubers or something, but we're just reading a book as an exercise in getting to know people. And just sort of hearing some people talk, it just makes you think. And then you hear of a corporation like Disney saying that they won't be making as much content. They want to put stuff back in the movie theaters. And it's like, well, if they put it back in the movie theaters, it's going to cost money. And why do they bring up the whole thing about the book you're reading? Well, because everything comes at a cost. Books, I feel like, are something that we always say we're going to read, but we never do. And summer, for whatever reason, summer has this finality of, hey, we're finally gonna read a book because we've got nothing to do all summer. So clearly we're gonna read. And it's like, what did you have going on in your life before summer that just now somehow you're going to have all this extra time on your hands that you didn't have before summer? I mean, I'm asking because let me break this down for you. If you have kids in school, they were in school. One would think that means you would have more free time on your hands when the kids are in school versus them being home. So I really don't get this whole notion that you have more time during the summer. Because back when we were in the soup, back when we were in the fight, back when we were in the struggle, it was real. I mean, today was the first day with the former foster son in his proper daycare. And, we got new internet, switched internet providers, and so I had wanted to go for a walk before we ended up doing, and it ended up taking about 3 hours, so we ended up going for a walk 3 hours later. Excuse me. And it was just like, that's something we couldn't have done before, before 2 weeks ago, because he was here before we went on vacation, because he was here all the time, and we couldn't, because balancing, sleeping times, having to find a double stroller to take both the kids for a stroller in the stroll, and just logistically a little bit harder than it should be. But now it's because of summer, I have free time. Whereas me and my wife were talking earlier, and she's like, the thing is gone for you. And, she's talking about, I still have to pick him up because the former foster son's mom, I think I've talked about this before, she doesn't have a car. And so who's having to do the transport? My wife. And my wife is like, talking about how she still has this stress of in her life where she's still having to deal with this. And it's like, and because of that, she was angry because she had put on weight. And it's like, yeah, I feel it. But it's like, what are we going to do? This lady doesn't have a car. She needs her son watched while she's at work. So it's either somebody takes him to daycare because now daycare's an option, or he doesn't go to daycare. And that means he either comes here or what? There's a struggle to be had. And so I really don't care when Disney says that they're running stuff at a loss. Because they didn't have to run stuff at a loss. They could have made shows that people wanted to watch. So you have to pardon me when I hear stuff like Disney's not going to make any more shows because it's too expensive and they're running at a loss. And it's like, who told you to do that? I don't know. Doesn't make any sense. But this is life. I told you I was going to tell another story about my travels. Yesterday, when we were driving, we had left our hotel for about half an hour driving down the road. And I looked back, I'm in the right hand lane. Okay, I look back and there's this group of cars going about. I'm going 75, right? And there's a group of about 6 or 7 cars, and they are coming. And the last car in this pack in the fast lane is a semi, 18-wheeler, whatever you call it. And I'm like, what is going on here? And so, driving, I don't want to get past. I don't get pissed by a semi. So what do? There's a gap between the car that's in front of the semi and the semi. So I get over. I'm not trying to do anything to the semi. I'm just trying to get, I don't want to get past my semi if I don't need to, because that's like, And so I get over. And so this semi goes back into the lane where I was and goes around me. And I'm like, okay. And so then he he gets up pretty far and he gets back in the passing lane to pass more people. And then all of a sudden we're going 65, which is 5 miles below the speed limit. And I'm like, what in the world? And so I get out, I go back in the other lane and pass the semi. Well, apparently this semi was like, I don't know if you've seen one of these videos of people that just mess with semi drivers on the road, and the semi driver ends up burning them off the road. And that's not what I was doing to the semi. I was trying to get around the semi. I was trying to get him, wherever. And so this semi, he starts coming up fast and he goes around me. And I look up and there's that group of like 8 cars, and there's and then there's cars in the other lane. This semi proceeds to run up, squeeze into the tight little space between 2 cars. And I'm like, this guy's a lunatic. This guy's going to get in a wreck. My wife's like, just let him go. Just slow down. Just let him go. And I don't know if this guy if he was looking for somebody to beat out or what, but he was just driving crazy. And so, I ended up catching up with him later when we got to the mountains. And I just went around him as fast as I could. I got away from him, and thankfully we ended up stopping. I didn't end up seeing this guy again. But it was just one of those things where you're like, what is happening? And it was just something that he complicated the matter. Why? I don't know. And it was just very off-putting. It was just very like, okay, I've seen this. I've seen the videos, but I promise, but clearly I'm not trying to do that because I got myself, my wife, and 3 kids in the van. And so I'm not trying to cause a scene or make this guy's life harder than it needs to be already. And I guess it was just a misunderstanding on someone's part. I don't know if it was my fault or his. But the illustration I'm trying to say is it's just something. It was just something that didn't need to be there. And that's how I feel about Disney Star Wars. Disney Star Wars doesn't need to overcomplicate things. A lot of people don't need to overcomplicate things. And back to the thing about our former foster son, we're trying to unclog this as much as we can, as fast as we can. And you might be saying, why are you putting yourself out for this woman? And it's like, it's this thing called the golden rule, that you treat others the way you want to be treated. And I know that that's something that nobody understands anymore, but it's just like, if you want to be treated kindly, treat others kindly. If you want people to go out of your way to help you, you have to go out of the way to help them. And we're trying to solve this lady's problem, and it was super hard on me. And I didn't think there was going to be any weight to my wife, but she's like, yeah, there's a weight to it because you still having to come here. I'm still have to get in the car to go. I'm still having to drop him off. I'm still having to go to work after that. I still have to come home, pick him up, take him home before I come home. And so she's like, and I don't know how much stress that would add, because to me, because if it was me in that situation, I don't think that I would have a lot of stress. Now, I'm saying that as somebody who is not in that situation. But apparently, this little boy burned his hand. Keep in mind, he's not yet 2. But over the weekend, while we were gone, we were having some friends of ours watch him. And apparently on Saturday, I don't know, he burned his hand on an exhaust. I don't know if it was an exhaust pipe. I kind of think it was, because my wife said that he had a giant thing on his hand and that his hand was all messed up. And I don't know. But that just seems to me like, why are you overcomplicating the situation? Why are you overcomplicating the situation? And a lot of times we do that. And we have to be more self-aware of that. I told you that I've been watching a lot of these these people that live in their vans or something like that. And all of these van people, they keep talking about being intentional, slowing down, and doing what actually matters in life. And yet they all do ads for this company called BetterHelp. Or you go online, you sign up with their link, and you go in and it'll match you with a therapist for you. And then for whatever reason, the therapist that they match you with doesn't work, they'll switch to another one for free. And it's a therapist that you can do anywhere, as long as there's an internet connection. You just hop on your phone, put your earbuds in, and you talk to them. And I'm just like, and so that's their way of, these are people who, I don't know how they make money. Some have little side hustles, like they do photography or something. But for a lot of them, some of them have Patreon, some just live off their YouTube earnings, and they're like, so they go back, and it's a video that they shot that over the course of, I don't know, a day, a week, something like that. and they go down and it'll be 2 weeks later, and they'll carry the footage, they'll edit all the footage, they'll splice in voiceover and, clean it up, make it look like super great, and then I'll put it out. And, so I can't imagine how much time that takes to do that, the whole editing process. It's going to be a lot, because all I do is I just do this. If I mess up, I just go with it, and I just, at the end of the day, I just clean up the voice, clean up my voice, clean up the background noise. Hopefully there's not too much. Try to take as much of that, of the clicking and everything else out as I can, and then I just render it and get it ready, and hopefully it comes off well. But I digress. We didn't do anything. I didn't get anybody. I wasn't really paying attention. I was talking more than I was. What can I say? I've been back for a day. I don't know how long it's going to take me to get everything back like I like it, but next 2 nights we get the gig, so it's either going to be like this, where it's super late, like it's 12:30 now, or later. So who knows how that's going to affect the day and date thing that we have going on. But anyway, I know this was a little bit, not a whole lot of it makes sense, I'm sure. And I apologize for that. I'll try to do better, but it's 11:30 at night. Anyway, I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for being here. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, you know what to do. Make sure you hold the line, because it's important that you do, even though we have friends everywhere. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.